So with that, I will invite Tony to read our manifesto.
Yeah. You'll also find a copy of your manifesto, and this is what WCI stands for, what we believe in, and what we will be promoting during the elections. Yeah? What I'll do is I'll read out the English part, but you can see that there's a Malay translation for each one as well, and it's on our banners over there. The manifesto is also up there. And we had discussions over this, and we've crystallized it to 10 areas that we feel very, very strongly about. And I'll read from here. We believe that everyone in Malaysia has a right to a government that is truly democratic and a society where all of us are treated equally. We also believe that adequate women's representation is very important so that women do not continue to face discrimination. And in order to achieve this, we want, and these are the following things that we want to see happen. Number one, democracy that belongs to all, because politics belongs to people, not to politicians. We have a right to clean and fair elections and equal representation at all levels, and we know that that's not happening at the moment. We know that our election system is very unequal at the moment, and we don't have local elections, for example, where most women tend to be elected to. Yeah? So we need more women in parliament, at least 30%, to better represent women's specific needs and realities. Number two is a society that doesn't discriminate. This is extremely important for everybody to feel, so that they feel like they belong to this country, rather than feel that they are passing through or they are transient. Or the federal constitution guarantees non-discrimination regardless of religion, race, descent, gender or place of birth. However, over the years, we have seen the negative impact of ethnic-based policies as well as the disrespect of different religious beliefs. There is also discrimination based on sexuality, sexism, disability, age, income. So we call for an end to all forms of discrimination because we all contribute to this country in many ways and therefore we deserve equal treatment. Thirdly, the right to basic freedoms and human rights. We are often warned that demanding our rights will affect economic growth, but the experiences of many countries show us that this is not true. We have a right to economic growth as well as the right to speak, to earn a minimum wage, to form and join a trade union of our choice, to gather peacefully, to access information, to move freely, to have a balanced media, and to privacy, because these are not luxuries, these are actually basic rights. Number four, transparent and corruption-free government. Whether it's the judiciary, the police, the transport authorities, or the local council, we have all seen how corruption has benefited a small group of powerful people. We want professionalism and transparency because corruption hurts all of us and hurts the growth of the country in the long run. Number five, a safe and violence-free society. We have the right to be free from violence by the authorities, no corruption, no arbitrary arrests, no tear gas, no water cannons, and no beatings. And I think the peaceful gatherings of the last few months have shown us that this is still going on. We saw it over many, many years, and we continue to see this violence by the authorities, and it has to stop. Women and children also have the right to be safe and free from violence in the community and violence in the home. We need to stop rape, stop sexual harassment, stop domestic violence, stop all forms of gender-based violence. It's not enough to say that we will put CCTVs everywhere and somehow that will solve the issue. Because there has to be a more comprehensive approach. There has to be, women's groups have been promoting gender education in schools for many, many years, but this is just still not happening. So we would really want to call for an overall approach to providing a safe environment for all of us. Number six, a good and affordable standard of living for all. I think we've seen lately the impact of the rising cost of food, transport, daily goods. Whether it's oil on the shelves or whether it's not having the roti canai because of a lack of flour. Now there's a rice issue as well. All these issues have an impact on all of us, but on the burden that it forms on lower income groups is amazing. It's just really painful because wages have not kept up with inflation rates. It is even worse for vulnerable and marginalized groups. If you think of, you can name so many, but we just named a few here. Yeah, single mothers, the elderly, children, the disabled, people with HIV and AIDS, the Manya community, refugees, migrant workers, and many more. The impact has been tremendous. So we all deserve a good standard of living. Number 7, an end to privatization of healthcare and other basic needs. Healthcare, water, education, sanitation, we all have a right to these basic needs and services. These are not something that are luxury items. We have a right to this. Every good government would provide these things and make sure that every person in the country has good access to this. And the government has a duty to provide quality and affordable service. Privatization, however, and we've seen that there's a growing trend towards privatization, will turn these things into luxury items, making them inaccessible, especially to the poor and vulnerable. Number 8, we also call for an end to unfair and oppressive laws. Laws are supposed to protect the rights of people, and not to protect unjust practices, whether it's unjust practices in the home, or in the community, or in the state. However, oppressive laws like the Internal Security Act, the Police Act, the Sedition Act, have been used to silence us as the rakyat. Even when we notice injustices and we want to talk about it, we get silenced over that. And this has to stop. Similarly, laws that discriminate against women, whether it's civil laws or Sharia laws, if they are discriminating against women, then they need to be abolished or amended. Number 9, an end to forced evictions. Everyone has a right to their land and homes and must never be forcibly evicted. Imagine if the homes that you were living in today, somebody came and forcibly took it. How might that feel? They must be fully consulted and compensated if their property is required for public need. Every year, hundreds of people are forcibly evicted in the name of development. This practice has to be eradicated. I think we've seen how indigenous groups are evicted from their land. We've seen that, in the newspapers, especially in Sarawak, the number of blockades that happen simply because people are protecting their land. And while a lot of evictions are happening, I think we can't forget that a local councillor managed to build a mansion. In the same time that hundreds of people,
illegal land,
on illegal land, and during the same period of time, hundreds of people were evicted from land that they had been living in. I mean, we know Kampung Berembang and a few other kampungs. People have been there for like 40 years, 50 years. And finally, number 10, a responsible and sustainable, equitable development. Economic growth must be for everybody, because poverty, when it exists, will hurt everybody, regardless of your skin color, your race, your religion. Doesn't matter what. Poverty hurts. And for women, it's actually twice as bad. The poverty, is being a woman is being poor is one thing. Being a woman who is poor is another thing as well. Therefore, any affirmative action policy must not be based on these other issues, but must be based on needs. People need it. That's when they need to be supported. Development practices that lead to poisonous air from incinerators or flash floods, and I think you've seen all of this happening. Polluted rivers and oceans. I think they declared recently that 2 rivers in Selangor are virtually dead. And destruction of heritage sites must be stopped. Responsible development benefits us and the future generations. So for that reason, our economic growth has to be sustainable and a balanced economic growth. And I think our slogan sums up the entire 10 points in that what we're calling for is an end to discrimination and a vote for equality. So I'll probably end there.